Today is Recovery Monday on The View from a Pew. We've got a special guest today. Stick with us.
I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. That I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed.
We are back. This is Bob Montserrat, Cat in a Hat, sitting in for the ailing J. Michael McCoy. Mac, hopefully you're recovering and getting better. Hey, this is Recovery Monday. This is the day he's got to recover, correct?
Yeah,
Lila?
yeah. Recovering from something else, though.
Yeah, yeah, from an illness. Yeah. That was Lila Stafford. Lila is with Powell CDC, and you're a substance abuse counselor, correct?
Yes.
I got that
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I know Max sometimes, he gives different labels for different people.
Yes. Yeah.
And so he contacted both of us and he said, I'm not going to be able to make it. I just got the bug, whatever that bug is. So,
It seems like a lot of people have it.
I think this has been one of the worst years for people, getting sick.
Yeah.
And it's all around me. And so far, I'm holding out. So far.
I never get sick, but I had it just for a couple days, but most of the people I know have whatever this is for a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I've noticed, and it really takes people out. It's
Yeah.
the flu, and one of those things is there's like 250 different viruses out there, and they choose one or two for the vaccine for that year.
Yeah.
And if they choose wrong, well, guess what?
Yeah.
Everybody
Everybody
gets sick.
it.
And so I think that's the year. This is
Yeah.
the year that people are getting sick. Anyway, this show is being produced by Ryan, who always does an excellent job, and so he makes me sound good. Well, even look good. I hate to say it, but Ryan doing a good job. Today our guest is Jill, and welcome, Jill, to Recovery Monday on The View from a Pew.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can just speak right into that mic, and that way everybody can hear you. And obviously, as people that are listening in on Mondays, they know that our show is dealing with people that have been addicted. And it's usually to alcohol, but sometimes it's to other substances of abuse. And it's very interesting to interview people that have been there, have been affected by the alcohol, that's had their lives disrupted or the lives of other people disrupted. And when you can recover from that and tell your story of where you've been and where you are, it's very helpful for people that are in that position, right now. So we're glad you're here to share your story. And the other thing that always excites me is I like to ask people, so how long have you been sober? And you just said this Friday will be 7 years.
God willing.
7 is a number that is completion.
Yeah,
That's what it is when you talk about, biblically speaking, it's completion. And so that's a good sign. That's a good sign. So,
Yes.
Jill, are you from the area here?
Well, I was born here in Des Moines. I grew up in Ankeny. For 3 years, we lived in West Des Moines, so I went to school at Valley. I went to high school at Valley. But I live in Ankeny with my husband. My husband went to Ankeny, so.
So you're happy to be an Iowan, and you have no desire to go where it's warmer.
Oh, no, it'll get warmer. It gets warmer.
Well, we've been having a severe, not only us, but a lot of people have been having a severe weather, freezing cold and some snow. We've been lucky for the snow, but it's been very, very cold.
I'll be completely honest, though, and I will take this, even the windy days or whatever, where it's just cold, as long as I'm inside. But I will take this over those nasty days, those like steam bath days of like July, August. I don't like that. When you walk outside, you get in your car and it's like, God, I don't want to get in there. You bake in the car and at least the air is fresh and clean now.
Yeah.
I don't like humidity, so
Yeah.
I'll take this over that.
Yeah. You the
Yeah.
same, Lila?
No, I don't mind the cold. It's the ice that I get so scared to drive.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, the cold doesn't bother me. I just put on different kinds of coats. And I don't even know
Sure.
it's cold.
That's all right.
Well, the ice isn't. I get scared on the ice, but I've got pretty good snow tires. But You know, I mean, that's one of the things I don't like. As long as I'm, you know, I can drive safely, my car starts, all that stuff, then the rest of it is fine.
That's a good attitude. That's a good attitude to have. One thing that I don't get a chance to talk much about what, you know, as far as alcohol involvement, and I've never had a problem with alcohol. I avoid it. And my father was an alcoholic, and his brothers were alcoholics, and so I lived with one. And
So is that why you don't drink?
that is one big reason why I don't drink, because I saw what he did to the family,
Yeah.
and I noticed what my involvement was, because I would be called out in the evening to pull him out of the car with my brother to get him into the house because he was so intoxicated. And I always was so happy that he would never get in a crash or accident. And he was never arrested or anything for drunk driving, and yet he did it all the time. And so he did it until the day he died. He just never was freed of that. And he never admitted that he had a problem. So it was a whole lifetime situation. So, yeah. So I'm the youngest of my family. My sister's older than me, my brother, and we all have stayed away from it.
Oh,
So
that's interesting.
I'm coming from that aspect, and I know that you two, and along with Mac, were, you know, alcoholics, and therefore, so I have a little bit of experience from a different angle, you know, of watching my family suffer through that, and knowing that there was nothing that I could really do about that. And so, Jill, I know that, you know, you had a problem. When did this start for you?
When did I start drinking?
Yes.
Well, you know, when I was a kid, I mean, my parents, you know, there was alcohol around. You know, my parents, you know, had friends over and stuff. Especially when I was 5, they had like, you know, they built a bar in their basement, you know, and pool table, and it was a nice place to entertain. And so they did some of that, and so we had some exposure. And my dad made wine too. He doesn't do it that much anymore, but he made wine as kind of a hobby. So we'd always, you know, we'd get some wine, you know, just because they, you know, with dinner sometimes, just a little bit, you know, because, you know, he wanted to share it with us too. And so, like, you know, in grade school, you know, we had, me and my sister would have friends over to play, and we'd play bar. So, you know, and so we had, like, you know, like the little small little booze bottles, you know, empty, of course, you know, when we'd be playing bar, you know, and the neighbor.
I've never heard that before from someone.
We'd play bar, and yeah, the neighbor parents must have loved us. But
How old were you at that time when you played bar?
oh gosh, I don't know, 7 maybe. My sister was like 3 or 4. You know, we'd play. It was more of an entertainment kind of thing, because then we'd stand up on the stage and sing and stuff, and serve cocktails to people. And my parents would come and come to our bar too, you know, and play with us that way. And you know, just, you know, little fun things like that. So I mean, alcohol was kind of fun. You know, I'd see the commercials, you know, it's Miller time. So I knew it was a way to unwind, have a break, you know. And so, like, you know, I'd see somebody, you know, coming to, oh man, I need a drink. You know, I've had a hard day and stuff like that. And so, I mean, it was just kind of, you know, it was, you know, a way to unwind, you know. And my parents, you know, every night when my parents would come home from work, they would have what they'd call, you know, their cocktail hour. And that was a time that we weren't really, you know, it was their time to talk about work and stuff. And so we just kind of would go do our own thing and stuff. And so I never really saw anybody drunk, except for maybe around holidays or something, you know, or at a picnic, there'd be somebody passed out or whatever. And so I really, you know, wasn't around, you know, violent drunks or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
When
was
did
just
you
kinda-
first start, though? When did you first?
Well, like I said, you know, we'd get a drink or have a drink of mom's beer or whatever, you know.
But when were you, like, interested in really
Well, the first
drinking?
time I got drunk, I remember I was on spring break, and both my parents worked, and my sister was at school. I was going to a different school, so I was on spring break. And I was in 8th grade, and I wanted to see what it was like to get drunk. And so I, you know, drank rum. That was my first, you know, and
Did you drink it straight, or did you put it?
I
with some-
drank it straight. I
Yeah.
drank it straight with
And-
shot glasses.
Was it agreeable, or did it kind of grossed you
the
out.
first one, it kind of burned on the way down, and it just kind of like. But then after 2 or 3 of them, I was starting to feel kind of fun, So then I kept going, and I don't really remember a whole lot after that. I
Were you
remember
by
staggering
yourself,
around.
or
I
were
was
you
by
with
myself?
Yeah.
By myself. I think I might have been talking to a boyfriend on the phone or something like that, but I don't remember a whole lot after that. I remember like.
Did you get sick?
Oh yeah, I got sick. And then my mom came home, and I was in bed. I had the flu, and she went along with it. But then she kind of saw the booze missing, and she kind of knew what had happened. And
Did she say something to you about it?
well, she knew. I mean, I it's kind of sketchy, but I think she kind of had me go out and go for a walk and stuff, and just then, and she knew.
But you didn't get in trouble for it.
No, not really. I didn't get in trouble. I think, the headache and.
So do you want to do it after that?
Well, like I said, after that, I didn't really do much with it after that. But, like I said, then we moved out to West Des Moines. We lived on Rest Haven Cemetery. And so, like, sometimes Dad would have, like, company functions, and at our place, and there'd be a keg or something. And we weren't forbidden to drink at all. It was just kind of, as a matter of fact, there was one time, Dad caught me, getting a beer out of the, and so he's like, hey, so I started to go, he says, come here. There you go. And so it wasn't the way they saw it was they would rather we got drunk at home in a safe environment than out with our friend, drinking and driving and stuff. And actually, I didn't drive until I was way out of high school, and when I started driving, for whatever reason, I didn't get my license until I was about 19.
Okay.
Or
So
20.
did any of your friends drink in high school?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I went to Valley, there was like a lot of like kids that had rich parents, and so their parents would be like in Europe or something, and so there was always some party going on at somebody's house and or whatever, and I just really never I really wasn't in that crowd anyway. I was kind of a square peg, but both in junior high and high school, and so I didn't really hang out with those people. I kind of hung out, I was kind of a loner. I hung out with, the leftover group or whatever. So I really, there wasn't really any pressure to drink.
Yeah.
But Jill, did you, that was a bad experience you had being drunk and being sick. That didn't turn you off to that feeling?
Not the drunk. Well, the drunk part was fine, but then when I got sick, so then I just kind of would, sometimes, get this, drink to the, the happy feeling or whatever, but sometimes that wasn't enough. And then I would just, drink until, I was either dizzy or something. I mean, I always had, when I drank, I rarely did, have 1 or 2 drinks. It was always, kind of a craving to have more.
Was it a craving for the feeling of feeling better or feeling good?
I think so. I really think
So
so.
it put you at a state of where your troubles and worries were kind of gone in
Yeah.
that sense?
Just kind of in, a reasonable, kind of a reasonable state of, I don't give a hoot. And,
Right. But so what you're saying were there were certain things going on in your life that you weren't happy about, possibly, that this was an escape?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so the taste or the flavor or some of the things really didn't bother you. You were using it more of as an escape to feel good.
Yeah, sometimes the tasty drinks, I mean like margaritas or something like that. But I always wanted them like really strong. I didn't. I wanted something that had, where you'd take a couple sips and you get a buzz.
But what happens is, and I heard you say that, is even when you get the buzz that you think you're going after, then it's like that isn't enough.
You want more.
Yes.
More.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're coming up to a break now. We've been talking to Jill, talking about her experience with alcohol and getting into some of the reasons why she was doing that. And I think we're going to be continuing on that aspect. And then when you got to the point of when you felt like enough is enough. And we'll be getting into that when we come back. We'll see you after this break.
who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to The View from the Pew. This is Recovery Monday. My name is Bob Onsarette, Cat in the Hat. You don't get to hear me talking this much, but since Mac is ill, I'm here filling in for him. And here with Lila Stafford from Powell CDC, substance abuse counselor. Ryan's producing. Also here speaking to Jill, who has been sober this Friday for 7 years, which is an awesome thing. And do you count the days, or you keep track of those?
I don't anymore now, because I look at it. I mean, I will be sober Friday, and I say God willing, because I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I probably will, but it's kind of like, my attitude is, the way I see it is that if I can stay sober today, then I'll probably be sober the rest of my life, because it's always today.
Right. One day at a time.
Absolutely.
You just kind of brought me to this recent occurrence with that actor, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who just died of a drug overdose, and yet he was clean, remember, for I don't know how many years.
23 years, I think they said.
Something like that, and then he went back. So what you're saying is you take it one day at a time, because you can't predict what the future will be. And so this is quite a shock for a lot of people that were fans of his.
And you never know. That's what we tell people. It's like, if you go back out, you never know if you're going to make it back in the doors of a 12-step program.
That's what scares me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you do pick up where you left off, and then it's a progressive disease, and it goes downhill. So
yeah, and I think, I don't know, and I can't speak for myself, but I would think there'd be a fear, in a sense, a fear of going back to where you were and not really wanting to do that. And so being extra careful to, well, attend meetings, be with the people that help you to stay straight.
Yeah.
And that's how the program is set up, correct? That,
Yes.
that you're constantly encouraged by people to keep on that path.
Well, what helps me is when I go to meetings, I'm hearing people who have come back in the door because they just relapsed. And I would say 99.9% of the time, if they're asked what happened, is they stopped going to meetings, they stopped talking with other people, they were isolating, and then it gives them their own mind is talking to them, telling them, oh, maybe just a little sip is okay. And that's why we have to stay around other people who will keep us accountable.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be accountable to someone other than ourselves.
I can see that. And that goes for not just as far as substance abuse, but for many other things.
Oh, yeah.
To be accountable to someone, other people.
I've seen that because I just want to walk, 10,000 steps a day. And if I'm not accountable to somebody else, I have to meet somebody at the mall, I will do the same thing. I just, I'll start talking to myself. It's like, oh, it's really too cold. I don't want to get out of bed and go walk at the mall. It's okay. I'll just do it today. I'll just skip today. Pretty soon I've got 5 days that I haven't done it. And it's the same mindset as somebody that's going out there and drinking and not being accountable to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. So you need to be encouraged.
Yeah.
You need to have people around you to support you.
Yes.
And that makes the difference, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Yeah. And you were just, before we went to break, you were talking about how you would go to the parties and drink. And you were also talking about how drinking made you feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
And so you did it to escape whatever was bothering you at the time.
I think toward the end, though, I think that I wasn't drinking to feel good. I was just drinking to not feel.
To not feel anything.
To not feel anything. Yes.
So after, as you were growing up, you got into high school and continued the drinking? Is that the way it went?
Well, not on a regular basis. Like I said, there'd be times where, there'd be beer to be had or something, but I didn't drink, on a daily or nightly basis, like later on in my adulthood.
When did it start getting bad for you? Or when did you start needing more or becoming a regular?
I think after I grew up, and then I lived at my grandparents' house for about 8 or 9 years, because when my parents moved to Ohio, I didn't want to move with them, but I wasn't ready to be on my own yet. And she doesn't like it in her house at all. She doesn't like drinking, doesn't like anything to do with it, nothing.
So how old were you when you were living at your grandparents'?
I was 20, in my 20s.
Yeah.
And then I married my husband when I was 29.
Okay.
So for about 9 years.
Yeah.
And my husband, was a pretty big partier. He's also in recovery with me. He's got almost the same amount. He'll have 7 years in March.
Okay.
But when I met him, of course he drank too, and so it was just kind of like, yeah, and then I can pretty much drink all I want to.
Yeah, that's why my husband and I hooked up too, because we both. He said I drank more than any girl he knew, so it was fun.
So that made it easier for both of you, because you didn't really feel like you had to hide it.
Right.
Right. Until the end, and I was hiding it from him, and or at least so I thought. But see, at that point, I was drinking to not feel. Toward the end, though, I was not only drinking it to not feel, I was drinking it just to be normal, just so I wouldn't have this going on. That was the problem toward the end, because I'm a medical transcriptionist, and so I, at the time I was working at a clinic, and I'd go I was in my office most of the time anyway, so I could do my job even if I shook, because of my, the typing and stuff. But,
well, were you creating your own problems in your life, or were there things going on that you wanted to forget, or?
I think probably a little bit of both. I think from a codependent thing, I had some of that going on, you know, and I think that's kind of, that was all the way through school was what you think of me is more important to me than what I think of me.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and one of the things, you know, I was a square peg in school, and so I just kind of thought that I was the only one that felt that way, you know, because
Aw.
kids, you know, kids are kind of
Mm-hmm.
ego oriented or whatever, you know, and they think that, you know, everything is about them anyway. So
Yeah.
when they feel a certain way, they feel like, you know, they're the only ones that feel that way, and
Yeah.
and that you know.
Were you
So-
bullied at all in school, or did people pick
Oh,
on you?
kind of, yeah.
So maybe your self-esteem was kind of low,
Oh yeah.
and you didn't think much about yourself. I'm just
I think it was
assuming
because and the thing is that I was picked on, but I think I kind of made myself a target by the way I reacted.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
you know, I gave them what they wanted, and
But if you're young, you're inexperienced.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And you don't quite know how to deal when they're coming at you.
Well, no,
And so if you keep drawing back and back into yourself, then there's something that you need to do to try to remedy that.
right.
So when you drank, did that give you the confidence that you needed? Did it boost your self-esteem a little bit? Like,
A little bit,
yeah.
but it kind of also made it so that I didn't care either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was more comfortable in my own skin
Yes.
when I drank.
Yeah.
So then eventually gets to a point then where you get psychologically and physiologically addicted to that your body starts to crave it. Did you get to that point?
Oh yeah, and you shake without it. Oh yeah, toward the end, this is like when I was hiding it. I'd come home, I'd be shaking so bad, you know, I'd go in my room, get in the closet, and get the bottle of vodka. It was the cheapest vodka I could find. I didn't care what it tasted like, and you know, we'd trying to pour it into the shot glass, and I'd be shaking so bad, I'm like, oh, what the heck, you know, and drink it.
How much were you drinking near the end?
Oh heck, I don't know. I would try to, you know, I would get like a fifth, and then I would try to leave some for the next morning so I could take a couple shots so I wouldn't shake so
yeah.
bad. But then I was getting to where I needed more and more for that. You know, you build up that tolerance,
Yeah.
and it was scary.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can hide the alcohol that's coming out of your breath.
See, I thought, and I thought too, because there is like a wives' tale that, oh, well, and that's why I switched to vodka, because, oh, you can't smell vodka on somebody. Yeah, you can.
You can.
Yeah.
Because
I'll
you're
tell you
smelling
what,
alcohol.
though, even as a counselor, when I smell it around somebody, I don't want to smell it. So in my head, I'm thinking, I think I smell it, but I'm probably making it up. But there's also things like hand sanitizer
Yeah.
that smells like that.
It smells
at the
just
house.
like it.
Yeah. And so I just don't want to accuse somebody of, you know, drinking when they aren't. So I'm
Right.
really careful.
Yeah,
about-
because, you know, part of my job is working at the lab, and I understand about alcohol, but alcohol gets into your breath. When it circulates throughout your body, the alcohol actually leaves your blood and gets into your breath, and you breathe it out. So if somebody's in your area,
Yeah.
that pure alcohol that's coming out, those molecules are going across the
It's
room.
coming out your pores, too.
Yeah, it comes out of your pores, and you know it comes in out of your urine,
Yeah.
and you metabolize quite a bit of it in the liver, breaks it down. But when a person is drinking and it's in their system, you can smell it on their breath, and I'm very sensitive to that. I can smell it.
Yeah.
So, you know, the hand sanitizer, yes, that is alcohol. That's ethyl alcohol, which is the alcohol that people drink, and I use that too. But it dissipates pretty quick.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and so if you're talking to somebody and you continually smell that alcohol, what you're smelling is the alcohol. A lot of times if a person's consuming beer or some whiskey, you're smelling some of the adulterants that are added to it, you know, for flavor and so forth. You can smell that. But alcohol does have an odor, and you'll recognize it when somebody has it in their breath, like you said.
Yeah.
And so if somebody talks to you, generally you're going to smell it, you're going to know it, it's there. So that's why I was saying, I don't
Oh,
know
I
how
could
it can-
smell it. I mean, if somebody walked in the door right now and they had been drinking, I could smell it from here.
Right. So you know that.
Well, and I'd go to meetings. I would, you know, when I first went to meetings, I'd go to like the noon one or whatever, and I'd take a couple before I'd go, and they knew. They all knew.
So you really weren't hiding it.
I wasn't hiding it. They didn't say anything. See, and that because they weren't saying anything, I didn't think they knew. And later on, I was talking about it. I said, oh, we all knew. And I said, they did? I said, you did? And they're like, Jill, of course we did.
Now, what
Not
would you have
hiding it.
done if they said something?
I don't know. I think I would have been self-conscious. I don't know whether I would have been back. So that's the key, is you really don't say anything to them. You just say, keep coming back. And they said to keep coming back. So
So this is when you were going in for treatment that you were.
well, no, I was going to evening outpatient treatment. I started going to evening outpatient treatment back in the late fall of '06. And then they said, well, you better get a couple meetings in there, but before that, I had been to the Sunday one in Ankeny. There's a Sunday one at and I went to that just to get a taste of it, just to see. And, I liked it. It was, I don't know if it was what I had pictured it to be, but I enjoyed the people, and they all liked me, and that was the cool thing was being, not have to worry about my hair or my clothes or whatever, and being accepted for who I was.
Yeah.
But one of my first thoughts was, well, as soon as they get to know me, they're not going to like me anymore, and 7 years later, and they still like me.
Yeah.
So, and that's just the thing is I found that was just, for me, and then I was going to the meetings, but I like I said, I'd be drinking before I went until I went to inpatient, and then after inpatient, then I was in for
Okay.
keeps.
Well, when we come back and we're speaking to Jill, I'd like to know when we come back from break, when did you get to that point when you knew that you needed to change? You needed to make a difference in your life. And that's what we're going to talk about when we come back from this break. So you're listening to The View from the Pew. This is Recovery Monday, and we will be back after this short break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager
I am the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seemed like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Welcome back to The View from a Pew, Recovery Monday. This is Bob Montserrat, Cat in the Hat, filling in for the ailing J. Michael McCoy. And Mac, if you're listening, you know I hope you're feeling better so you can come back soon and do your wonderful job that he normally does. I'm sitting here with Lila Stafford from Powell CDC, and I know that Powell does a lot of work dealing and helping people with substance abuse problems. And I'm assuming, is it just substance abuse or is it other?
Yeah, just substance abuse.
Okay, I mean, that's enough.
Yeah.
Right there. You can fill the halls. And we've been here talking to Jill about her alcohol problem that she had and the fact that we're almost there to 7 years of being sober. And it's an awesome thing when I hear that people are recovering and are maintaining because it's such a tough life, I think, and you would know for yourself, a life that you didn't want, a life that you finally decided, this life that I have is not working, I'm not happy, and I want to be free. Now you, of course, got to that point. And how did that come about for you, Jill?
Well, I think I got to the point long before I stopped drinking, actually, because I can remember, like the new year coming in of 2007, and I was, woke up one morning, I was just like, and several times now, this thought came through my head, I'm like, I can't even stay sober in treatment, and a couple of things, and I thought, and I turned 40 this year in June. My birthday's in June, and I thought, what kind of shape am I going to be in by then? Am I still going to be alive? And there was a few times that I actually hoped that I wouldn't be, because it was just, and I'd seen, heard about people dying from the disease, and just I thought, I'm probably almost there, but it turns out, maybe I wasn't, maybe I would have gone a couple more years because, and I heard of people, that endured 5-10 years of that same stuff, just before their liver finally gave out.
And where did you hear this? Is this just from news reports or from people you knew?
Well, in treatment, and in the big book, he talks about how he was shaking and this and that, and he said, the mind and body are marvelous things, because he said he endured 2 more years of this. And I was reading it, and I thought, and because I hadn't really gotten into where I was shaking, I was having pains. There was no blood or anything yet. People talk about, how they vomit blood or whatever. It wasn't that part yet, but I've heard people, doing that for several years before they, but it just, the way I felt, I was, feeling sick and tired all the time, the blackouts where I would say, very abusive things to my husband and stuff, and not remember what I did. And he'd tell me, and I would, tell him he was lying. And just
Did you get sick? Were you like catching colds and things more often?
Yeah. I get colds now, and I'll tell you, talking about the flu season going around and stuff, I get a little touch of it once in a while, now, and it kind of makes me grateful because I get a chance to, because when I'm really down in the dumps with the cold or whatever virus I've got, I'm like, this is how I felt all the time.
Yeah.
This is how,
Wow. Boy, that's bad when you're...
Well, I can remember thinking as I was throwing up one time drunk, it was like, why am I doing this to myself? Because I hate having the flu. I hate throwing up. And it's like, why am I doing this?
Right. Why would you do it willingly?
Yeah.
When you're sick, you don't want to be sick.
Right.
No.
And yet you're inducing the same symptoms as being sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So why would that be? Yeah.
To be totally honest now, though, I'm kind of grateful. I'm grateful that I drank. I'm grateful that I went through that because right now, I've got this sense of everything's going to be okay. Where before, I would angst about things, and I still angst about things, but not quite as bad. At least I know now that things are going to be okay.
So you have hope.
Right.
Hope
yeah.
for the future.
Right.
That
Right.
you didn't have before.
Sometimes in a given situation, I may not know what I'm going to do right away, but I also know what I'm not going to do. And by not doing that, I've got a little bit of hope. It's just put it
I
in
think you've learned some
God's
skills
hands.
along the way too in the 12 steps.
Yeah.
And just how to do life, and that gives you hope.
Yeah. And I think, because I worked the 12 steps,
Yeah.
I'm happier than I would have been had I never taken a drink in my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I see people, just going around with this fed up look where they just need one more thing to go wrong and blah, 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 and I'm like, I used to feel that way all the time, and I can feel their pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes, it kind of causes me to take a step back and look at that. If somebody's being rude to me, rather than sit there and, and being judgy about them and being judgmental, I think, wow, what must be going on in their life?
Yeah.
Not that I have to take it, and the thing is that it doesn't excuse their behavior.
Right.
But I also don't have to wear it on my shoulders.
Yes. You don't have to take it on yourself.
I don't have to put the hat on.
Yep.
And you have a better understanding since you've been there. You can understand a person where they are.
Right. And then on the other side of it, if I'm in a bad mood, I don't get to take it out on somebody else, because then, I'll have to apologize to them. And
Right.
right.
So when you got to the point of saying, I'm sick of this, how did you know who or where to reach out for help?
Well, I had just come home from evening outpatient treatment, from one of the evening outpatient treatments.
So you just went on your own.
Well, yeah. See, I was going to evening outpatient treatment, so I'd go for the session and I'd go home and get blitzed. And I did that night, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't hide it anymore. So I went to my husband, crying hysterically, and told him, I said, you've got to take me inpatient. You got to take me tonight. I've got to go, and I could see the writing on the wall.
How did he react to that?
Well, he said, well, honey, can we go tomorrow morning instead? Because I think, he was dealing with some stuff too. And so he wanted to wait until the night, because he probably shouldn't have been driving that night either.
Yeah.
And I said, no, Mike, I said, we've got to go now, because if I'd have waited till the next morning,
Yep.
I might not have gone.
Right.
I don't know, but I had to go.
Things always get better in the morning, so you want to
Right.
you want to go when
it's worse.
Yes.
the
Yeah,
worst
when
time.
it's just right at the crucial. So, yeah.
So you knew then, at that point, you had to go because things could change and you wouldn't go.
I knew I needed to be someplace where I couldn't just go out and buy it. That was my thing. Because I thought, okay, I'm going to stay. And I stayed sober. And like after I got into evening outpatient treatment, the first couple of days I stayed sober. And then I just couldn't take it anymore. Because, part of the thing was, we blamed people for our drink, the reason that we drink, and I'm just like, well, I'd say to I wouldn't have to drink if you would only, if you weren't this, But the thing is, see, I was missing the big picture. I'm like, but Jill, what about all the rest of the times?
Yeah.
I didn't always drink because, I wasn't getting along with my husband. I didn't always drink, I drank all the time.
Yeah.
See, that's one of the things that people don't realize is that, see, we use alcohol for everything. We use alcohol when we're mad, happy, sad, glad, scared, everything.
Mm-hmm.
When you get rid of it, it leaves this big hole. It leaves a big hole. And you cannot leave that hole empty. It's just going to cave in. But you have to fill it up with something substantial, something solid that's going to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just, you can't leave it empty. You just can't leave it empty.
What was that you filled that void with, or that big empty hole?
Well, I pretty much let God fill it for me.
Okay.
I did it. I kind of did it too. I just went to meetings. Did the next right thing, and I don't always do the next right thing. I'm not perfect.
No.
But
nor are the people that don't drink or have addictions perfect either.
right.
So, anyway, we're coming up against another break, and I really appreciate what you're saying, Jill, and it's important for people to hear your words because many people are there. They're in that position where they don't quite know what to do. They're not sure if they should take that step and fill that void like you've been talking about. But we'll get back and continue on our discussion after this break.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We are back on The View from a Pew. Bob Montserrat here, sitting in for J. Michael McCoy. We've been talking to Jill, Lila Stafford here, Ryan producing. We were talking about, Jill, the fact that you have this big void once you decide that you're going to make a change and alcohol was going to be eliminated from your life. Then you have this big void, and I basically asked you about that big void, that big hole, and how do we, and what did you do, and what did you replace it? Because you said you have to replace it. And you said basically God. And He's the one that made the difference in your life. And I know that, in that 12th step, one of the first step is you have to admit you're powerless over alcohol. And that life became unmanageable, right? Do you have that memorized?
Yes.
Do you have them all memorized?
Sort of.
And then you have to come to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you. And those are two big steps, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it was, I mean, it was actually God. I really have a feeling, I've got this, I think that God really cut me a break, a huge one, because, one of the things, He knows me because he knew that the biggest thing that I've ever wanted in my life, the thing that I wanted, that I just yearned for my whole life, and that's to feel like I fit in someplace. And He used that. It's just kind of like, He'd be like, but when I first decided to go inpatient and get rid of it, I like to say that He cut the obsession wire in my head immediately, because because that's not for that's not that way for everybody. There's people that have been sober for decades and they still want it. But when I went in there, I would say, probably the next day, I think He probably could have set some in front of me and I wouldn't have wanted it, where mere hours before I would have drank it all up and looked for more. But I did not want it anymore. I just didn't. And it's just kind of like, now that we're in, He wanted to get that out of the way so we could kind of focus on this thing, the meetings and stuff. And it was just kind of like, He's like, okay, honey, we're going to get you sober, get rid of the alcohol. Now, what's the biggest thing you've ever wanted in your whole life? And it was to fit in someplace. So it was just kind of like He opened the door to the meeting. There you go. And I went in there, you know, and like I said, the first time I was in there, and it was just like, I felt like I was home, you know. Nobody judged me. People were nice to me. They said, keep coming back. And, you know, I've just got like, you know, the best friends in the world. And these are people that will do anything for you. I mean, I just feel like no matter what happens, you know, disaster happens or just whatever, you've got people that, you know, that'll help you, not necessarily monetarily, but spiritually. I mean, they're there to give you a hug, and they're there to
show love,
to be there for you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, and people help you too. I mean, you know, you need a ride someplace. You know, so at least in Ankeny, if somebody's moving, you know, all you have to say is, you know, I'm moving. You know, and there's people there with trucks, and they'll show up and help you move your stuff, or yeah, just things like, it's just phenomenal, you know.
I know in LA, one of my girlfriends who lives in LA said that people that aren't even alcoholics go to AA meetings to meet people or to get a job or something. That's horrible to say. But
yeah.
I don't know if it's horrible because, you know, people, a lot of times they say, well, you want to meet somebody, you go to the bar.
Yeah.
And meet them at the bar. Well, I think the AA is because you're done with that. You know, it's over. And so I think that's not a bad idea, even though maybe that's not, you know, part of the policy.
Yeah.
But, and so that's interesting to me that, Jill, that you said that basically that attachment of alcohol to you, the psychological and physiological attachment was cut.
The cravings,
And the cravings was gone. Now, and that happened, how long did that take when you finally went in for help?
Oh, within the first few days I was there. I mean, just almost instantly.
That is amazing.
That's once you went to full time, because didn't you say you were
When
drinking?
inpatient.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was inpatient for a week.
Yeah.
But,
I've heard other people say that as well.
That is.
I had to be someplace where I couldn't just hop in my car and go and get some.
Yeah.
And so you were
now, not to say if I were to pick up again, it may be harder. And I've heard people say that they were you know, and then they just. But I've always heard that, you know, like the relapse is there long before the drink is taken.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The drink is just a formality.
Yeah.
You know, it's just now emotional relapses. Now I've been through so many emotional relapses just because of my codependency, my thing that I can't just let something go, you know, and I hammer at it and I go back and attack some more and I hammer, you know, that kind of thing. And I've done that so many times where it just scares me to think of if I were to actually take a drink. You know, like I said, I've had so many emotional relapses that I don't even want to go there.
Mm-hmm. Right. You've been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
Don't want it back again.
Don't want it back again. It's not a solution to me.
And that's where God has to come to your rescue, basically.
Right.
To
right.
Keep depending on Him.
Well, and I think He puts people. I mean, I think He puts people in our lives. You know, like that person that comes in that has that smell of alcohol. You know, I'm supposed to smell that. And you know, a few years ago, there was a guy in the program that died from it. And the thing is that it made me take a step back because I'm like, you don't just die overnight from that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a period, you know. And there's one person that says, and I say this too, I'm not afraid of drinking and dying. I'm afraid of drinking and living. Mm. Because if I were to drink, it wouldn't kill me right away.
It's a slow death.
It's a slow death, and I've heard that it's very painful in the end. I mean, your stomach has got to hurt. You got to be...
Yeah. Well, your liver, it destroys your liver, is what it does, and I've seen destroyed livers.
Yeah.
And it wreaks havoc. It kills. It's toxic, and it slowly kills you. It does.
Well, and one of the things too that I was thinking of, you know, and when I was at that time of the new year of 2007, when I was thinking, God, I can't even stay sober in treatment. One of my thoughts was the thought, and this is one of the things that drove me to just give it up completely too, was the thought of my husband having to call my parents and tell them that I'd passed away.
Oh,
yeah.
And what that would do to them, because it would break them, and I don't see them coming. You know, I couldn't see them coming back from something like that.
Yeah.
It would break them. It would break a lot of people. My grandmother, my parents,
Yeah.
a lot of people.
Yeah, that's good that you think of others too.
Yeah.
And what it could do to them. That's a good thing to do. If you do that, and some people cannot do that.
Well, and the thing is if your sole thing for staying sober is you're staying sober for somebody else, that's probably not going to work either. Because you
Correct.
have to do it for yourself. But
That's a
you know,
side benefit.
Yeah, right.
Mhm. Well, we're just about to the end of the show, and Jill, appreciate you coming out here. Thank you for telling your story, and
Thank you for having me.
it's very important for people to hear, what you've been through and how you recovered and what is important in your life. And so, thanks again, Lila. Thanks for being here, and thanks, Mac, for allowing me to come here and sit here. You take care, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.